Is Freddy Pharkas, Frontier Pharmacist, the secret handshake of vintage adventure nerds? Or just a dusty punchline best left on the bargain bin shelf between Full Throttle in its 12-diskette beta incarnation, and that Windows 3.1 golf sim your uncle swore was just like Pebble Beach? Short answer, yes. Longer, louder answer. Freddy is both a gloriously bizarro fever dream and a strangely rigorous slice of Sierra design, a game that croons, "Howdy partner," while slipping a pekak into your sarsaparilla. Figuratively, only some of the drugs are real. Underrated? Definitely. Oversold? Occasionally by fans who insist it predicted Red Dead Redemption's horse physics a decade early. Folks, you do remember the horse cork puzzle, right? Fundamental? Any adventure that expects you to compound laxatives for a flatulent cattle drive while crooning a ballad about lost ears is at least textbook adjacent to greatness. Negligible? Only if you also consider Weird Al's entire discography skippable, you monster. So grab your powdered rhubarb, your driest sarcasm, and your most forgiving tolerance for 256 color western sunsets, because we're sauntering into Coarsegold, California. Population puns. Historical context. By 1993, Sierra Online's adventure empire looked like the shelves of an over-caffeinated comic book shop, everything bagged, boarded, and screaming for your allowance. The King's Quest royal family had just adopted VGA, Space Quest was juggling Roger Wilco's cosmic pratfalls, and the Leisure Suit Larry series, helmed by Al Lowe, one of Freddy's two lead designers, still reeked of polyester pheromones. Sierra had moved from parser inputs to icon-driven point-and-click, SCI 1.1 if you're programming along at home, just as CD-ROM drives started moving from every gateway cow tower. Into that technological cattle chute strode Freddy Pharkas, a western spoof pitched by Lowe and Josh Mandel as Leisure Suit Larry meets Gary Cooper, if Cooper abandoned gunplay for Pharmacist's pay. I'm paraphrasing, but not by much. What possessed Sierra Suits to green light a comedy western in the age of Mortal Kombat fatalities and Doom shareware? Partly hubris, Sierra's floppy sales were minting ski chalets in Oakhurst, and partly nostalgia, Ken and Roberta Williams lived in actual gold rush territory. Freddy's fictional Coarsegold nods to the real-world town down Highway 41 from Sierra headquarters. They could basically smell the manure for, or from, authenticity. For me, a 14-year-old arcader raised on Street Fighter II cabinets, Freddy landed like a ride telegram from an older cousin. You enjoy quarters? Try reading an entire faux medical manual before you can even click a beaker. Love, Sierra Adventure games in '93 were trending three ways. Voice acting bravado, CD talkies let heroes yammer. Freddy shipped on floppy first, then a 1994 CD version starring voice legend Cam Clarke. Yes, Leonardo from the '87 Ninja Turtles, singing about pantsless bartendy ears. My Sound Blaster still has PTSD. Interface simplification. LucasArts had already condensed Monkey Island 2's verb garden. Sierra followed with the smart cursor, but Freddy kept a row of icons. Walk, look, hand, talk, nose. Yes, nose. Because you can't sniff horse droppings with a generic pointer. Pilgrim. Edgy/genre mashups. Gabriel Knight combined voodoo and FM synth. Sam and Max weaponized surreal noir. Freddy? It jammed Old West cliches into pharmacy school orientation and shot the whole concoction through a slapstick funnel. My own historical archive involves escorting a floppy caddy to the local Babbages like it was the Ark of the Covenant. Pop culture at the time crowned cowboys cool again. Unforgiven had just won Oscars, Young Guns 2 was still looping on HBO, so a comedic western felt timely. But a comedic western where you titrate skunk oil? That felt like the gaming equivalent of ordering a root beer float at 3 a.m. Deliriously right, bafflingly wrong, and sweet enough to dissolve teeth. Mechanics. First, the obvious. Freddy Pharkas is a Sierra point-and-click adventure, so expect deaths as frequent as Windows 3.1 general protection faults. Mismeasure the ammonium chloride? Boom. Pile of bones in cowboy boots? Forget to cork the saloon's patent medicine barrel? Kablooey. Town in flames, reload your last save. You did save every screen, right? Sierra deaths were the Dark Souls gank of their day. Cheap yet educational. Next time, don't ingest nitroglycerin, partner. But Freddy overlays that classic Sierra roulette with two brilliant and occasionally sadistic wrinkles. 1. The Pharmacopoeia puzzles, or manual labor in the literal sense. Early in Act 1, you inherit a thick in-game pharmacy manual filled with 19th-century curatives. The game expects you to flip through that PDF before PDF, locate the recipe for whorehound syrup, and then replicate it via click-and-drag chemistry. Mess up one decimal and your cough medicine becomes cough napalm. In the floppy era, this doubled as copy protection. Good luck, pirates, printing 72 pages on a dot matrix. But it also enforced roleplay. Freddy is a pharmacist, so you'd better learn your ipecac from your laudanum. Rhetorical question, did this make teenage me feel like a Walgreens Jedi? Answer, only after I glued bicarbonate to my mousepad from spilled root beer. 2. The nose cursor, aka Smell-O-Vision Pre-OLED. Lowe and Mandel added an olfactory icon because describing stink in text wasn't enough. They wanted you to click on cow pies and experience cow pie, Pixel by Malodorous Pixel. The gag becomes central to a puzzle where you diagnose spoiled milk, insert got milk, 1993 reference, by inhaling near an udder. Time traveling back from 2025, it reads delightfully deranged. An adventure game encouraging me to digitally huff livestock. Comparisons? Imagine if The Secret of Monkey Island replaced sword-fighting insults with a Benadryl dosage chart, or if King's Quest V demanded you read Grey's Anatomy before picking up the tambourine. That's Freddy. Comedic swashbuckling meets med school midterm. Let's gallop through one emblematic sequence. Late Act 2, a plague of explosive horse flatus threatens to fumigate Coarsegold. Absurd element meet narrative spine. Freddy, ex-gunslinger turned apothecary, must concoct a degassing elixir from ingredients scattered across town. Charcoal, pinched from the blacksmith, peppermint, swiped from a rival's absinthe bottle, and bismuth. Good luck explaining Pepto-Bismol to a saloon gal who thinks bismuth is a card game. Mix poorly, and the horse erupts like Mount St. Helens. Mix perfectly, and you're rewarded with a triumphant blorp and a cutscene where the mayor gifts you a golden plunger. Is that historically accurate? About as accurate as Clint Eastwood's 5-foot whisper. Throughout, Freddy ladles and pop culture blink and miss riffs. A tombstone reading, "Here lies E. Fudd, he was viewy quiet." A bartender named Bob, whose hair is suspiciously big for 1869. Hi, early 90s SNL fans. Even a cameo by Jacques Cousteau's grandpappy spouting marine puns in the desert. My favorite is the text parser Easter egg. Type play xylophone near the schoolhouse. And the game scolds wrong adventure, Mr. Zach McCracken. Cue me. Age 14, barking laughter so loud my dad assumed I'd fried the sound blaster. Mechanically, the interface holds up surprisingly well in 2025's post-touchscreen reality. Right-click cycles verbs, left-click interacts, F5 quick saves. Every pixel is a potential pun, encouraging those old-school pixel hunts. Is that a shadow? Or the bullet I need to plug the outhouse hole? The pacing splits into 4 acts, each capping with an anticlimax that teases Freddy's gunslinger past, like a sitcom withholding its finale for Sweeps Week. And yes, you will eventually duel the villain, Kenny the Kid, a leather-clad nod to Leisure Suit Larry. But your weapon is still mostly mortar and pestle. Complaints? Inventory size rivals Hermione's bottomless bag, meaning you will accidentally feed rattlesnake antivenom to a postal worker because you forgot it sat next to licorice root, and the math in some formulations veers into Sierra algebra. Pour 3/4 dram of morphine into 3 fluid ounces of syrup, reduced by 1 gill. A gill, cue teenage me consulting an Encyclopedia Britannica binder. If you're under 25, Google gill archaic measurement and prepare for a Kansas City shuffle of units. Still, the comedic gratification is unmatched. Example rant. Why did no one before 1993 think to fuse gunfights with diarrhea cures? It's the Reese's peanut butter cup of Western tropes, people. And yes, asides and parentheses inside asides, like dosage recursion, are mandatory in a Freddy review, legacy, and influence. Here's the cruel twist. For all its innovation, Freddy Pharkas never rode into the sunset on platinum sales figures. Part of the blame is timing. By 93, the mainstream had pivoted to first-person shooters and FMV spectacle. A dusty comic western about compounding laxatives felt to many as fringe as Mystery Science Theater 3000's Gunslinger Riff, which actually aired 2 years later. Life imitates B-movies. Sierra itself soon gambled on Phantasmagoria, a 7-disc screamfest that made Freddy look like PBS Kids. Yet ask any adventure aficionado and they'll cite Freddy alongside Day of the Tentacle as a comedic masterclass. The pharmacy puzzles anticipated so-called diegetic UI, game mechanics justified by narrative reality. Before System Shock had its in-world email logs, Freddy made you crack a literal book to advance. CD-ROM talkies. Freddy's 1994 re-release proved that comedic timing blossoms with voice acting, a lesson LucasArts harnessed for Curse of Monkey Island later that same decade. Not saying Ron Gilbert stole the idea, more like they both cribbed from Mel Brooks. Where it lingers most is niche fandom. Speedrunners now debate manual skip categories. Is referencing the original PDF cheating? Modders craft ScummVM patches, adding high-res portraits of every pill bottle. Someone even inserted the 1960s Dr. Pepper jingle as an Easter egg. Meanwhile, actual pharmacists of a certain age keep copies in staff break rooms. Swear to Doc Holliday, because nothing bonds a CVS night shift like yelling, "Where's my sassafras tincture, Pilgrim?" at 2 a.m. Culturally, Freddy stands tall as one of gaming's few love letters to mundane professions. Sure, we eventually got Papers, Please, and Power Wash Simulator, but in '93, the idea of glamorizing apothecaries was as bonkers as a Microsoft Excel dating sim. Don't Google that. Or do, but clear your cache. It showed designers that serious puzzle logic could coexist with booger jokes, an influence felt in indies like Thimbleweed Park, whose hospital segment basically winks at Freddy every third dialogue box. Why niche then? Partly because the Western setting faded from zeitgeist until Red Dead Revolver, 2004, reignited interest. Partly because Sierra never sequelized it. Al Lowe claims corporate heads thought the pharmacy angle didn't test well with Germany, Adventure's second largest market. And partly because gamers feared learning stuff mid-laughter. Epistemophobia is real. Show a teenager a dram conversion table and watch them alt-tab to TikTok. Still, the cult remains, trading bootleg floppy scans like contraband licorice root. Closing paragraph plus score. So is Freddy Pharkas. Frontier Pharmacist, the malted milk ball in Sierra's Adventure Sundae, or just the stray peanut that cracks a molar. For this 1979-born joystick romantic, it's both comfort food and cautionary tale. Proof that ingenuity sometimes rides side saddle to market whims. Yet when a game can still make me snort sarsaparilla through my nose. Nose icon? Engage. 3 decades later, I call that prescription strength charm. Sure, a couple pixel hunts drag like a mule on muscle relaxants, and the copy protection manual may scare off modern dabblers. But where else can you graduate from shootist to chemist, assemble anti-flatulence bombs, and serenade a goat, all before the title card in Act 3? Exactly. Final score? 8.3 out of 10. Side effects may include uncontrollable giggles, irrational fondness for obsolete units of measure, and a sudden urge to stock apothecary jars in alphabetical order. Consult your local sheriff if symptoms persist.